Hey everybody, Ginzburg here. I'm going to give everyone like a minute or so. We might have more people joining, probably have more people joining. So thanks everybody for being on the webinar today. I'm very excited and we're going to get started in maybe about 30 to 60 seconds. So thanks and looking forward to getting this rolling. Great, we have more people joining. So this is how to grow your high-tech business with branding, content, and storytelling. And we're going to get started just in about 30 seconds or so. I just want to give a few more people the opportunity to join live. And yeah, very excited for everybody to be here. All right, well, we're about 2 minutes in, so I think I'll get started. Thanks everybody for joining me. I'm Jean Ginzburg, digital marketing expert, #1 best-selling author, and this is how to grow your high-tech business with branding, content, and storytelling. And I'm going to go through a presentation today that talks all about those things, and I'm going to show some examples from my clients and high-tech companies out there that I think make good examples for content and branding and storytelling. So, and of course, if you have any questions while you're on the webinar, please feel free to put them in the chat box and I will get to them at the end. We should have about, 5 to 10 minutes at the end for any questions. So absolutely, please be sure to put those in there during the presentation, and at the end, I will get through to the questions and answer any questions that you guys have. So thanks again for joining me. So we're going to talk about how to grow your high-tech business with branding, content, and storytelling. And a little bit about me. Looks like that image might not be showing up. There's a book on the left-hand side. So a little bit about me. So I am a digital marketing expert. I'm also a #1 best-selling author of the book, Win New Customers, How to Attract, Connect, and Convert More Prospects into Customers in 60 Days Using Digital Marketing Strategies. I am a founder of a couple of companies, Ginzburg Digital Marketing and GeneGinsburg.com. In both of those companies, we help entrepreneurs and small to mid-sized businesses find new customers using digital marketing strategies. So I've been doing this for a long time in the digital marketing space. That is, I feel, a long time since it's only been around for like less than 20 years, probably. So I've been doing this for 11 years, and the last 5 years I've been on my own as I founded my 2 companies. And I also have a YouTube channel, which you can just find my name if you go to YouTube and put my name in there, you can find that. There's a lot of videos on content about entrepreneurship and digital marketing. I'll actually talk about that at the end. And then just a little bit about me from a personal perspective. I'm a lifelong learner. I love books and audiobooks all the time. I go through podcasts and digital courses on a regular basis, and I feel like I've become a much better entrepreneur, a much better leader going through books and audiobooks and courses and podcasts. I'm also very outdoorsy. I love trail running and snowboarding and cycling. So that's just a little quick tidbit about me. So I've been featured in a few places, Forbes.com, the Huffington Post. I'm also a contributing writer for a couple of publications, Amex Open Forum, Thrive Global, and Authority Magazine. If you look for those, you'll find me, and you can follow, of course, me on any of those publications. I've also been a podcast and radio show guest on a few spots. So again, feel free to check those out if you want to learn a little bit more about me and my business. Great. So I just also wanted to share some digital marketing results that I have done in the past with my clients. So for a Google AdWords campaign that I ran for one of my clients, we got an ROI of 742%. So we spent about $1,500 and our sales were about $13,000. So really good ROI on that campaign. Just kind of give you an idea of, what I do on a regular basis and some results that I've had with my clients. And then for Facebook ads, I ran a campaign for one of my clients, and we had a cost per registration, so it's a cost per lead for $1.40, which is, from a benchmarking perspective, very good in terms of Facebook advertising. So just wanted to kind of give you some results that I've done in the past. So moving on to the presentation. So you're definitely in the right place. I know you want to learn about how to grow your high-tech business with content and branding and storytelling. So we're going to talk about all of that today. And the first thing that I want to talk about is going to be the agenda. So first part is going to be all about the branding piece. So we're going to talk about branding and messaging. We're going to talk about core values and core focus, how to find your brand story, and then what differentiates you in the market. For our second part, we're going to talk about who is your ideal target market. So before we can really grow our business, we have to understand who are we trying to market to. I feel a lot of times when I engage with a client, the ideal target market is almost like a second thought, where it should be really your primary thought when it comes to owning a business. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about a content strategy, so growing your business and how to create content, what is the best type of content out there. And then we're going to get into the growth piece, which is growing your business. And we're going to talk about social media, and we're going to talk, and I'm going to give you an example of an email marketing automation campaign, which is specifically a SaaS product that I've been working with. And I think it gives a really good presentation of what, if you're a business owner and if you're in the SaaS space or in the high-tech space, I think it's a really good representation of what an email campaign should look like and kind of the communication strategy that this company is using. So that is the agenda. So the first part is going to be company branding. So we're going to talk more about what that looks like, what the brand, why it's important to have a brand. So really the primary reason is you want to put your name out there and have people recognize it. So as we all know, big brands out there like Nike and Uber, they all have logos, they all have certain core values, they all have certain things that they stand behind. So this applies to all businesses, whether you're a solopreneur or an Uber. Every business should have branding that's specific to their business, that embodies their core values, that embodies their branding guidelines. It could be the colors on your website. It could be the fonts on your website, or any of your marketing material. So it's important to have that no matter if you're a small business or a giant conglomerate. So the first step really is identifying what your core values are. And core values are 3 to 7 points that embody or really tell what your business is all about. They attract like-minded people to your organization. That could be customers, clients, employees. So it works on both sides. And of course, you want to share this with your team and your company once you develop those core values. A lot of times I see core values being created kind of as an afterthought. If you're just getting started in your business, or if you already have a developing business, I would very highly recommend looking into core values and creating those for your own business. So some examples of core values. For example, clients need first, complete wow experience, action-oriented, no jerks, open and honest. So they're just some that I found from different companies out there. But I also wanted to share my company core values because for me, I didn't really, when I started my business, I didn't really know too much about core values or how to really run a business. It was really much of a learning experience as I grew my business over a period of time. I really developed these core values just recently in the past year. But again, I would highly recommend creating those core values right now if you're just getting started. So my company core values are people first, empower entrepreneurs, solving problems quickly, being proactive, cutting edge technology, staying with tech changes and trends, and embracing change. So whenever I engage with a new client or hire a new employee, these are core values that I share with them all the time. And because I want to attract the right type of individual with the right kind of culture for my organization. So I think core values are really going to be the key driver behind everything that comes when it comes to your company. The other point of branding is going to be your core focus. So what is your purpose, your cause, and your passion? And I'm going to show some examples of that. And also your niche. So, you know, we think of the business world as big space, but we really, in order to get down to the right individual, the right customer, we really need to niche it down to a specific thing that we're working on. So, for example, for me, my niche is companies that have a certain revenue amount that they're generating, SaaS companies. So specifically, you niching down to a certain type of company that I want to work with, for example. And so core focus and niche. So really the main points here are don't get distracted and don't have shiny object syndrome. So I see shiny object syndrome pretty often when it comes to clients, especially when it comes to digital marketing, because there's so many things to do in digital marketing. And a lot of times it's like, oh, do I need to do this digital course, or do I need to sign up? Or maybe I need to do this email marketing campaign. So a lot of times that happens, but we really need to stay focused, which is why we want to make sure that we have a core focus when it comes to our business. So examples of core focus and niche, just I found a few when I was looking around and from different companies. So creating the right program with the right coverage for the right clients, simplifying companies' printing environments, and solving complex real estate problems. So these are just examples of core focuses for different companies that I found that I think are really good examples because, again, we want to make sure that we have, you know, a product or a certain area of expertise. For example, mine would be like digital marketing, and that we stay with that and don't, you know, look at shiny objects out there, because that could really be detrimental to our business. A lot of times when there's too many things going on, too much on your plate, that can cause other things that you're focusing on to falter. So that's why it's important to stay focused. And then the next piece of the branding is going to be, what is your brand story? So a lot of the companies that I work with, you know, they've gone through their core values, they've gone through what their core focus and their niche is, and then we talk about their brand story. So, you know, where did they come from? Why did they create this business? What was really the why behind it? And we as humans, we really understand and remember things a lot better when it comes to telling a story. So we really we remember things through storytelling versus through, let's say, facts or things like that. So it's important to share your brand story in your marketing materials, on your website, on your social media when it comes to your business. And I just wanted to share some examples of brand stories out there. So this is one for Uber. And so their brand story is, Uber says, it's evolving the way the world moves. By seamlessly connecting riders to drivers through our apps, we make cities more accessible, opening up more possibilities to riders and more business for drivers. So this is an example of the brand story from Uber. It's kind of what they do. It's more like a core statement or a mission statement for them, but really digging a little bit deeper into what your core, what your mission, what your brand story is. And this is an example that one of my clients. So I found this on their website, and I think this is a great way to share your brand story. So the founder of the company, the name of the company is Raw Artists, and they create these pop-up artists booths or artists like festivals in different cities. They do it in like 60 different cities. I know that's not necessarily tech related, but it's a good example of a brand story. So if you see on the slide, the founder goes into, you know, how she graduated from high school and moved to Los Angeles, and she wanted to be a fashion designer, and how she created this company and how it grew. So I think it's just a really good example of what good brand story is like and how to incorporate that into your business. And then we're going to talk about, as part of the branding, we're going to talk about company messaging. So the first point is what really differentiates you in the market. So if you look at your competitors, what are they doing and how are you different from them? And the differentiators could be a number of different things. So for example, it could be, of course, your core values. So that's the differentiator because we all have different experiences as founders of our companies. So our core values really is going to be part of what differentiates us in the marketplace. But other things could be focus on a superior customer service. It could be solving a specific problem in the industry, being innovative, so maybe creating products or services that are not like others in the marketplace. So definitely a big differentiator there. Maybe creating offers that are too hard to ignore. So having just points that are extremely differentiating you as a business, or being known as an expert in your field, or making it easy to do business with you. So just think about these things, and I know that a lot of times that it can be hard to think about what differentiates you in the marketplace, but be creative. I'd say start with your core values if you have to think about differentiators, because that's really going to be the first thing that drives is like everybody's company is going to have different core values. Like that's the one thing that differentiates, I think, is a good starting point for differentiators, because no company is going to have the exact same core values. There might be some overlap, but there's many things that we value as people, as founders of companies, that are going to be different. So think about that and be creative when it comes to what differentiates you in the marketplace. And then the last piece of the branding is going to be your brand slogan. So a brand slogan, of course, is a catchphrase or a small group of words that identifies a product or a company. And of course, we've seen a lot of those if you see the examples on the right-hand side. So it's kind of like a mini mission statement. It has to be memorable and differentiates a brand from other competitors. It's supposed to say brand, not brand. And then it offers positive feelings about the brand. So examples that, of course, we all see in the marketplace: Nike, just do it; Apple, think different; De Beers, a diamond is forever; Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'; General Electric, imagination at work. So when you're creating your branding for your company, so besides all the things we just talked about, like your core values, your core focus, what differentiates you in the marketplace, think about a catchphrase or a group of words that would differentiate you even more as part of your brand slogan. So that was the branding piece. And then the next step on the agenda is going to be identifying your ideal target market. And as a digital marketing expert and someone who's worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of different companies at this point and helping them with digital marketing, one of the mistakes I see, and I think I'm kind of alluded to it earlier, is that a lot of times companies don't really know who they're marketing to. They want to really get started on the digital side of things, social media and running Facebook ads or whatever, but when I ask them, like, who are we trying to target, I get blank stares sometimes. And that's extremely important to know who you're marketing to, because the phrase is, if you are marketing to everybody, then you're marketing to nobody. So really niching down and understanding your target market is going to be a key component of how you're going to create your branding strategy, how you're going to create your content strategy, and then how you're going to disseminate that content strategy and content across social media and other platforms and digital marketing, because different types of people will want different messaging that's thrown at them, and certain people will not necessarily respond to, for certain kinds of messaging. So it's important to really hone in on that so that we're getting to the right niche of individuals. So I have kind of a three-pronged approach when it comes to finding your ideal target market. So the first one is the demographic. So it's a good way to narrow our market down with age, gender, geolocation, and household income. So, for example, maybe you're going after women between the ages of 35 and 55 in a certain location, maybe in the United States, or maybe you're just a local business and you're going after these women in just your local metro area, or maybe just in the state. And also maybe perhaps you want to know their household income, because this particular product may be for example, more pricey. So, it's a certain type of household income that will probably be more likely to purchase it. So narrowing it down, I think, is the first good step, but it's not really the only step. A lot of times when I work with clients, that's really all they give me. They're like, oh, I'm looking for women between the ages of 35 to 55 and in the United States. And it's like, that's about half of, maybe a quarter of the population. Like, that is not nearly niche enough or not nearly as specific enough as we want it to be. So that is just the first step of narrowing things down and getting it down to maybe, let's say, a quarter of the population. So the next step is going to be the psychographic. So what are their goals? What are their pain points? What are their challenges? So this is really where it gets even more niche, and we narrow the market down even more. So, women 35 to 55 who might have, who might be mothers, or maybe it's women 35 to 55 who might want a new skincare product. So again, the moms might not be the same people as the women who want the skincare product. So we have to think about what are the challenges that they're having in their lives now, what are their pain points, and also think about how does our service or product address those pain points. So those are very important to identify as we're going through our ideal target market, because we're going to incorporate that, and I'm going to show you down the line, we're going to incorporate these pain points and challenges in our marketing copy and our content, because that's going to be driving a lot of the kinds of individuals that we're going to be attracting to our business, because we want to make sure that we're addressing those when we're posting on social media, through email, through our blog, or whatever it might be. And then the third piece is, where are they hanging out? So what are they doing on a regular basis? Are they at Facebook? Are they looking at videos on YouTube? Are they on Instagram? Maybe they're a younger generation and they're on Snapchat. Are they going to specific blogs or websites? So are they a runner and they're looking at Runner's World or something like that and hanging out there all the time? And maybe you have a product for runners. Or are they following certain gurus or experts in the field? So, for example, in my space, there's a number of gurus in digital marketing, and I follow them, and there's a lot of people who follow those gurus as well. So those would be good ones to know if they're experts in the field who your target market is following, because when we know who they're going after or who they're following, we can try to identify that and find certain ways to get to that target market just by understanding, where are they hanging out, what kind of blogs are they reading, what websites are they going to, what experts are they following, are they attending certain events, are they going to digital marketing conferences, are they going to running clubs, things like that. So we need to think about where they're hanging out, and we would complete that all as part of our customer, what we call a customer avatar profile, or a customer ideal target market profile, because we want to really identify, again, not only like what is their age and gender and where their geolocation is, but what are their challenges, how is our product or service addressing those challenges, and then also where are they hanging out, where are they spending a lot of their time. Really would think about attention, when it comes to content and marketing, it's really all about attention grabbing, because perhaps maybe 20, 25 years ago, the attention was maybe on newspapers and television. Things have changed. So 25 years later, the attention now is on social media. So we need to get to these individuals, that are our ideal target market, and get to them wherever their attention is. So that's why it's important to understand where they're hanging out. So the next point is going to be content development. So we've talked about branding and what that looks like for your company. We've talked about how to identify your ideal target market. And now we're ready to create some content for our business. So that could be anything from, putting items on your content on your website. It could be social media. It could be email marketing. It could even be print, although we're not going to get into that pieces. We're not going to get on this presentation. But there's many different places where you can distribute. We're going to talk about that a little bit later down the line. So when it comes to content development, we really want to think about, like, what is the idea behind it? So we want to think about engaging and nurturing our prospects. As a business owner, I think about it as this is for the long haul. This is not a quick way to make money. Being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, it's really for the long haul, and it's really a long-term strategy. So this is going to be part of the strategy is engaging and nurturing your prospects. It's not going to be necessarily a lot of times a fast or quick sale. And the reason for that is just because people have become really desensitized to online marketing, where before, maybe 10 years ago, it was much easier to convert a user from, let's say, just an ad to a landing page and they buy. Well, from my experiences, from everything that I've seen, the companies that I've worked with and clients that I've worked with, it's much more difficult to do that now, and it requires a lot more content and engaging and nurturing of prospects before converting them into paying customers. So we talked about branding. So we want to do all of the points that we've talked about is we want to incorporate that into our content. Now, there's going to be different ways of incorporating it, but we want to, of course, take our core values, talk about our messaging and our ideal target market, their pain points and their challenges, and incorporate that into content strategy because, again, we're going to be attracting a certain type of individual, a certain type of audience who might be interested in partnering with us and engaging with us further. So create content to address challenges and pain points, and then, of course, add in your kind of what differentiates you in the marketplace, add in your core values, add in your branding, add in your messaging. So these are all going to be components of creating a content strategy. And then really the main point that I want to address and that I want to talk about is adding value. Like I said, it's much harder to convert people now to from prospects to buyers in, let's say within one step. It really takes a lot of touch points. So for example, users who might engage with you on social media, maybe they'll get an email from you, maybe they'll see an ad from you on Facebook. So these are multiple touch points that you're going to have as a business owner when it comes to engaging with your audiences. So really adding value is going to be a key component of it because you want to, share your expertise and give them some information or have value up front before you even ask for the sale. Just because, as we know, it's much harder to get the sale if we ask for it right away because nobody really wants to be sold to. People want to see that you're adding value and then engage with you further down the line. And what are the types of content out there? Video, audio, so podcasts, for example, blog posts, articles, case studies, white papers. There are a ton of types of different content. My recommendations would be to really hone in on video. And the reason for that is she just did a presentation yesterday specifically about video, and the stats for video are just astronomical. I mean, the growth of video on social media, the growth of video in general and online marketing is just amazing these days. So honing in on videos, creating a story about your brand, addressing challenges, pain points for your customers, clients, and adding value is a really much easier way to do that with video because you can do that in a short video, let's say 3 to 5 minutes, get your point across, get your message across, and not have to, let's say, write a long blog post or a long case study. Although I still think that those are important and I think that they are valuable in certain parts of, let's say, your sales funnel. But starting off with video, I think is a great way to get that connection between you and your target audience. Podcasts or audio, I find that to be very successful as well. Again, you're adding value, and if you're not so comfortable on video, this is a good way to create content and to put it out there to your audiences. Blog posts, I still think they work, and there's a good way, to, especially if there's good SEO on them, and you put it out there on your website, and people are searching for a specific topic. I would say again, getting really specific on a topic is going to be the best way to get discovered by, if you have blog posts on your site, just because if it's kind of generic, it might get lost in the shuffle. And then if you're a high tech or a SaaS company, for example, articles, case studies, white papers, those are very helpful as well. Especially things like case studies where you want to share, an experience or results from a client that you've worked with, if you have a high tech business. So I think incorporating that into a strategy of content, a strategy of touch points with your audiences is really the way to go. And then just as a side note, there is the strategy that I use with me and for my own business and for my clients on how to easily create content and repurpose it without having to do this all piecemeal. So the recommendation that I have is that you would create a video. So the video might be, let's say, 3 to 5 minutes of a piece of content, maybe some sort of, value add that you can offer to your audiences. Then what you can do is you can download it as an MP3 file. So you can create an audio file out of it and put it up on your podcast or on an audio experience, for example, if you have one. And if you don't, you can always easily create one. And then what you do with the video is you can get it transcribed. So just the words transcribed, and there's platforms out there like rev.com. I don't get any commissions off of rev.com, just a platform that I use. It's $1 a minute, and somebody will transcribe your video or your audio for you, and you can use that as the base for creating a blog post. So basically taking the entire, taking one piece of content and repurposing it for many different ways. You can then also take snippets of the blog post. You would have to go in and edit it because it's probably not going to be 100%, but you can, take the transcription, edit it into a blog post, take some pieces of the blog post, like snippets, put it on your social media, take snippets of your video and put it on your social media as well. So there's many different ways of how taking one video and repurposing it for a number of ways is such a beneficial strategy for creating multiple types of content from just one piece. So that is content, and one of the things that I always tell everybody when I engage with a business is be consistent. So be consistent, of course, with your branding when it comes to your content, but also be consistent with how often you post your content. So if you post once a week to social media, to your Facebook page, then continue on doing that. What I see happen a lot is, I might engage with a business and they're like, yep, let's get content going. And then they start posting blog posts and videos, and then things fall off after a couple of months. So it's important to stay consistent with your content wherever you're distributing it. If you have a podcast and you have an episode that comes out every week, then make sure it comes out every week at 10 a.m. on Tuesday or whenever it might be. If you have a video channel or a vlog, then make sure that comes out again every week on 2 p.m. on Wednesday or whenever it might be. So please be sure to stay consistent. One of the ways I've recommended, one of the ways I do it in my business, and one of the ways I recommend to clients is to have a content calendar. So I know that can be hard to stay on top of everything. So creating just an easy spreadsheet, I use a Google Sheets with my team, and I create a content calendar and specific dates for every time my team posts social media to content to my social media channels. So that would be my recommendation, to stay on top of things so that content and posting doesn't fall off after a month or two. And I have some examples of high-tech companies that have done a very good job when it comes to creating content and distributing it through, let's say, social media or blogs or videos. So the first one is an example of Buffer, and this is an example of their blog. So Buffer is a platform for creating a social media calendar, basically, and uploading your social media content, distributing it across all your social media channels. So it's just a scheduler, basically, for all your social media, if you're not familiar with Buffer. So this is they create a lot of content. So how to create engaging short videos for social media, a simple 6-step framework for running social media experiments. So really good examples of how to use blogs, blog articles as content. Here's one for social media. It's an Instagram account from Microsoft, their high-tech company. So this one is featuring a specific business. So I think that's, they're doing a really good job of just not touting their own name, but talking about businesses that use Microsoft, of course. And then this one is an example of Hootsuite. So Hootsuite is kind of similar to Buffer. They allow you to post social media content to and schedule it for social media channels. So this is actually a video example. I can't play the video, but if you go to YouTube and find it, it's called The Game of Social Thrones. It's a really cool short video. It's only a minute and a half, and I thought it was really funny. But basically, it like talks about it's just there's no voice. It's just like a music video, and it's kind of like Game of Thrones meets social media. So it's a really fun video. If you have a minute and a half to spare, I'll definitely recommend taking a look at it. It's called A Game of Social Thrones. So this is the last part, social media, and email marketing is going to be the last part too. But basically growth, this is the last part. So we've talked about branding. We've talked about your ideal target market, how to find them. We've talked about creating a content strategy and developing content for your business, taking into consideration everything that you've done for, let's say, your branding, your core values, and your ideal target market. So now, okay, you've created some content. Maybe you've created videos or blog posts. So what do we do now? So we distribute it across social media channels to get it discovered by other individuals who might be interested in what we have to say and who might be interested in our messaging. So why social media? So right now, there are over 2 billion users on Facebook. And in the United States, we have about 240 million users. That's a stat from Statista.com. So about, let's say, 5/6 of our U.S. population, so there's about 300 million people, 240 is probably about 5/6 the population or so, if I'm doing the math right. So think about how many users are engaging with social media on a regular basis. So 240 million users in the U.S. alone. About half of the population in the United States is on Instagram. So think about 300 million people in the United States, about half of them are using Instagram on a regular basis. So again, going back to what I mentioned earlier, like attention, where are people's attention? And another stat that I found recently is that on average, people spend 20 minutes on social media a day. I probably use it a little bit more just because I'm in the business, but in general, a person who is maybe not in digital marketing, just a layman, if you will, is spending 20 minutes a day on social media. So where are people's attentions? They're definitely on social media. And then a quote from one of my favorite gurus. So I follow Gary Vaynerchuk. And if you are not a Gary Vaynerchuk fan, if you don't know who he is, I would highly recommend following him on all social media channels. He's pretty much on every social media channel. So the next 12 to 18 months will be all about Facebook and Instagram. So when Gary Vaynerchuk speaks, I definitely listen. He has predicted many good things for digital marketing and has been right about it. So I totally agree with him. The next 12 to 18 months will be all about Facebook and Instagram. We'll see what happens after that, but there might be a new platform after that. There might be a decline in certain platforms, but for now, it's definitely those are very strong platforms. So some examples of how to distribute your content. Of course, you can distribute it organically just by posting it to your, let's say, your personal account or your Facebook business page. But additionally, you can also run Facebook ads. And here are some examples. They're not necessarily examples of high-tech companies, but a Facebook ad is the same for a high-tech company as it is for a consumer company, for example, or a consumer product company. The only thing that's really going to change is going to be your messaging and, let's say, your copy and your image. But how to set up a Facebook ad is going to be the same across the board. But some examples of some Facebook ads that I've seen that I think are good examples, and kind of give you a quick breakdown of what a Facebook ad looks like. So, of course, you have your page at the top. This is the page or the business or the brand sponsoring this particular ad. And below that, you have copy. So this is the copy that we talked about earlier. So information about your brand, your messaging, your core values, and then pain points and frustrations and how your product and service addresses those. Then there's an image component or visual component. I recommend really highly using video. So you can use now video as an ad unit within Facebook, and the same thing with Instagram. We'll get into that shortly. These are all using images, but I would highly recommend using video and, again, adding value, creating a piece of content that would be valuable to your audiences. And then having a call to action. So is it shop now? Is it learn more? Is it sign up? So making sure that people know when they see it, what you're asking them to do and following through on that call to action. And then for Instagram, kind of similar ad structure. There's no headlines in Instagram. It's just images, video, and copy, and of course, hashtags. So again, these are all really important components of an Instagram ad. And then of course, hashtags. That's really the way now to, besides stories, to get discoverable on, is to become discoverable on Instagram, is to use hashtags in your ads or in your organic posts, and making sure that you're using a good, decent, good number of hashtags that are relevant to your post and, let's say, to your industry. So that's the best way to get discovered, to get your content discovered on Instagram, and also there's additionally Instagram stories, which is more of a couple years old, and posting to Instagram stories. But yeah, I use hashtags all the time when it comes to Instagram. And the way it works is that you can, as a user, you can follow a certain hashtag. So let's say I follow the hashtag, digital marketing or social media. And anytime somebody puts that as a hashtag, adds it to their post, then I would be able to see it because I'm following that specific hashtag. So that is Instagram ads, and that's social media. So another example I'm going to share is just through email marketing and automation. So what is email marketing and marketing automation? So it's a method to communicate with prospects or customers. Prospects, there's usually some sort of sequence that I put together or a business will put together for nurturing. Again, we talked about nurturing earlier. So welcome message, learn more about your brand story, core values, messaging. Again, all of the information we talked about earlier would go into this. So there's a method to the madness. And then ascending them from being, let's say, a prospect to a paying customer. And then if they're already a customer, then maybe using email marketing to send them updates about products, events, programs, and including any upsells. So if you have a certain product, you can upsell them to a different product, a complementary product, or maybe just a higher upgrade in terms of services or functionalities. And I wanted to share an example specifically to a SaaS company that I think is a really good example when it comes to to the email marketing campaign. So this is a company called Mattermark, and they are they're basically a database of businesses and startups, so that if you sign up to be a Mattermark user, you can find all these data points on startups, like where they located, when was the last funding round, things like that. How many employees do they have? So if you're if you're trying to find new prospects, this is a good Mattermark is a good way to do that. So so this is just a series of emails that Mattermark has put together for nurturing their prospects. They offer a free trial for 14 days, so they give you all of this content up front. Excuse me. So when you sign up to be a trial member, they're trying to upgrade you to be a paying customer. So Mattermark is not, it's not expensive, but it's not inexpensive either. So there's definitely going to be more of a longer nurture sequence there, because typically with SaaS products a little bit more expensive sales cycle and more of a nurture process, because users need to just learn more about what this company is all about and what their functionality is. So this is just the first welcome email to Mattermark, after a user signs up for a trial. So another email, next email was about just finding opportunity, automating your process, more content, and how best to use Mattermark. And then third email was a video, so how to use Mattermark for smarter prospecting. It's a 30-minute video that talks, basically goes into Mattermark, into the UI, and kind of gives you the concepts and the points of what to expect when you're using it. So I think this is a really good way to get the message across. So that way, it's like if you're kind of using the product itself, you can see through the video on how, what are the data points within that. Email was only with Mattermark, get to know your mind share and growth scores. So they have a couple of data points called mind share and growth scores that are specific to Mattermark. So it kind of gives you, it rolls up a few data points, like how many employees do they have, like employees has a company added within the last, 6 months or something, and they roll it up into these data points to kind of give you a benchmark on how a company is doing based on growth scores and mind share. And then another email, this is not one of the last ones, but this is, I think, number 5, best of Mattermark suggested searches you need. So they have pre-built searches for you within Mattermark that you can find. But the idea here is that this is a good example of a SaaS product that nurtures trial users to become paying customers and gives them just a boatload of information and content that they can go through and drips it out over a period of time for users to understand how to use their platform, because this is kind of a more in-depth platform, a little bit more, understanding, because it's not just like a pair of shoes or a can of Coke. It requires a little bit more understanding, because there's more data points and functionalities and capabilities. So I think this is a really good example of a SaaS company providing content and nurturing their prospects. So that is the presentation, how to grow your high-tech business with branding, content, and storytelling. We went through all of that in the presentation. We talked about branding. We talked about how to create your content. We talked about how to create a story and use social media and digital marketing to get that story across to your audiences. So I will take questions now. Of course, if you want to get in touch with me, feel free. On the right-hand side, you'll see all of my social media platforms that I use. I'm very active on LinkedIn and Instagram, so you can find me there. Also, I have a YouTube channel that's filled with content and videos that's related to digital marketing and entrepreneurship. Or you can also find me on Facebook. So if you just put in my name in any of these platforms, you'll find me there. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We have a couple of questions. Will these slides be available for download later? They'll be available through Bright Talk, so they'll definitely be available through a video, the video that we're just recording now live. And then the other question was, great breadth of content discussed. How would you change the focus when delivering a B2B service rather than a B2C product or service? For example, Facebook and Instagram are not likely places that the target market is hanging out. Is LinkedIn viable as a B2B marketplace? I would actually not agree with that. I still have gotten really good results as of now with B2B and using Facebook and Instagram. I think one of the things that we need to think about is that we're going after people, and people are on social media, whether they are a B2B or a B2C, they are still a person. So whether a person is a part of an organization or they're just a solo individual, they're still probably hanging out on social media. So I have gotten very good results with using Facebook and Instagram for B2B clients. I get targeted all the time by digital marketing companies, targeting B2B, entrepreneurs and businesses, and trying to sell me a bunch of stuff on Instagram. So I see that all the time. I would not say that Facebook and Instagram are just B2C. In terms of LinkedIn, absolutely. I didn't touch on LinkedIn in this particular presentation. Absolutely, I would test it out. Everything when it comes to digital marketing is going to be a test. In terms of results that I've heard, I haven't really used LinkedIn too much with my clients or my own business. From things that I've heard, LinkedIn ads are kind of more on the expensive side. We're talking about acquisition costs of like $10 to $20 starting prices. So just something to keep in mind. You'll find much more reasonably priced acquisition prices when it comes to Facebook and Instagram. So something to keep in mind. But I would recommend testing out LinkedIn and seeing if that works for your business. Everything, again, will be a test. So, yeah, everybody, thank you for joining me. If nobody has any questions, any additional questions, I appreciate you being here. I hope you guys learned something today, and thank you and have a great rest of the day.